Liftoff of mission 41D, first flight of the orbiter Discovery, and the shuttle has cleared the tower.
3, 2, 1. Hey, what's happening, you guys? Welcome to the Health or High Water podcast, your favorite health podcast, or it's going to be if it isn't yet. My name is Brett Hutari. I'm here with Trip Parks and Bethany. What's going on, guys? How we feeling today?
Great.
Bethany's doing great.
Me.
Didn't you have a comment too, Trip, recently? Somebody's like, do you always say hello like that?
Yes, I do.
For those of you wondering, Trip does always say hello in a weird manner, but that's why we love him
Normal's boring.
the most. So we are going to get into some fun stuff today. We're going to pass it over to Bethany here eventually to take us into our topic to discuss it. If you're joining us for the first time, thank you so much. We have 60 or 70 or so episodes.
We're in the 70s now.
We're in the 70s, ranging everything from mental health, physical health, rehabilitation, nutrition, you name it, across the board, bringing to you everything in the health and wellness industry, trying to have these enlightened conversations. Sometimes we're formal, sometimes we're informal, but we love what we do, and let's get right into it. Trip, you want to shout us out our sponsors?
Sponsors, thank you so much. Gene Planet, O2 Boost, You vs. You Clothing, Taste Life Nutrition, Herculean Adventure, Health Profiling, Kalevala Labs, Pelvic Harmony.
Yep.
Am I missing anyone?
Pelvic Harmony is the best. So if you guys didn't pay attention, you could go back and listen to Bethany's previous episode. She's a pelvic floor coach, and she'll get into, kind of what that means and what that entails. But she also does soft tissue and other physical types of work. And she is now inside of our gym. She is part of what we're doing, so we're so excited. So you'll be hearing a lot of her on the podcast. Woo, woo.
Yep.
Let's go. So, Bethany, without any further ado, what are we getting into today?
Yeah, I wanted to talk to you guys about earthing/grounding. They're kind of an interchangeable term, but there are so many good benefits, and I've seen a lot of good research about it. So I wanted to know if you guys have heard of it, if you've done it, what your thoughts are on it. And I can go over some of the research in a little bit.
Nice.
I'm gonna play the devil's advocate. I mean, we had Dr. Daniela Dupree on last week.
Dupree.
Yeah, Dupree, and I was not very much into the energy healing thing at all.
Mm-hmm.
I was very anti energy healing, whatnot.
Skeptic?
Huge skeptic.
Okay.
That just didn't make any sense to me.
Okay.
But after she came on, I started kind of understand listen, atoms do vibrate. That's how they work, and there has to be something to that. Atoms make up our system. So I do believe that there's something to it. I just don't know much about it.
Interesting. That's cool to hear that was like your come around moment.
Yeah.
A little change.
The atoms. Yeah. Yeah. It makes sense, right? Well, you get to the atomic level, everything's vibrating. The earth is vibrating. Yep. It's hard for Western ideas, but you're a science guy.
I'm a huge
You're a science guy,
guy.
so it totally makes sense for you to be like, is this real? Is this, tapping from the outside perspective? It sort of seems like. But I'll just give you my take is, 100%. There's so much power in that. I mean, that's why we go out into nature in general to get to feel the natural vibrations of, this may sound weird, but how the trees are moving, like how the winds are coming in, like that's the natural environment. I think we've been surrounded so often with cars and buildings and planes and pollution and phones and social media, and those things are not our natural environment. So it pulls us away from nature. So grounding, being barefoot and being exposed to these germs is good for us. I've been on this train for a while, so I'm excited for this episode.
Yeah, it's so cool. And even at the base layer, just reestablishing and regulating your circadian rhythm, which is huge for just your awake-sleep cycle and just how your body processes the 24-hour, everything in that.
It's so distracting. Trip is turning around his head every 2 seconds.
What? Because people don't do levels right. They're doing this with a microphone. And
Yeah.
I'm trying my best here.
I'm trying. So a lot of the main benefits that I've seen have been reduced pain, reduced inflammation, better sleep, less stress. And one of the studies that I saw was about the cortisol levels pre and post grounding, and they were much lower. I have a graph I can show you too. But it's definitely a noticeable change. And another interesting thing was with wound healing. There was a photo of a diabetic wound. And so that person already has poor circulation. And so they placed these electron patches next to the wound, and it healed so quickly. Like, they had been to a wound center already and weren't really making progress. But then they did this, and it healed so fast.
Well, I mean, I think it's like we're talking again about the atomic level of vibrations, pulsating things, the earth pulses, waves, and all those kind of things. It does make sense that there is something that we can't see that works. I mean, look, like even DNA itself wasn't figured out until this past century.
Yeah.
Right, and that's something we couldn't see. We couldn't see atoms past this late 1800s, early 1900s, and stuff that we can't see that's making a huge impact on how we are right now. So, I mean, this definitely is, I think, a movement in the right direction of us trying to heal scientifically yet holistically.
Yeah, what was that last part? Where was that at? That was at an institute? That was a study that was done, or just
Let me find
anecdotal?
it.
I'll let you.
It was an article on PubMed, which is a pretty reputable medicinal article, source. Let me see if it tells me.
Well,
Sure.
I want to kind of go back to the circadian rhythm too, and talk about that a little bit, because you did mention that.
Yeah. You can see the photos.
And for you guys not able to see the photos, I will put them on the description of the podcast so you guys can check it out.
You cannot see the photos. Wow. Yeah.
Isn't that cool?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, even we use electric stim now in a lot of recovery, personal training, like people that can't move. Like electric stim's a great option for them to keep their muscles moving and atrophying. You see it all the time. It's interesting to use it for wound.
So let's talk about the circadian rhythm, because you did discuss that too.
Yeah.
What do you? Let's go into that. Or I will. So the circadian rhythm is interesting. Essentially, I guess we could kind of boil it down to your body's natural biological processes, in a 24-hour period. So your sleep-wake cycle. The sleep is interesting. The sleep cycle is a very interesting study. It's so new. We've been studying sleep for 60 years. If not longer. But it is so unknown still. We do know there's stages of sleep. We do know people can evolve different sleeping patterns. Some people, for instance, sleep, during the day, and then they work at night, right? And they'll say, is that normal? So your body can adjust to a lot of things. I think the big thing, I just want to put this thought out there, and I'll pass it right back to you. The big thing is our bodies are these incredible evolutionary, beings. We can evolve to run on soda, for instance, and never drink water, right? We can evolve to live in toxic environments. We can evolve, but it doesn't mean it's optimal. It doesn't mean our processes are going to be great. It doesn't mean, sleeping during the day and working at night is the optimal process for our body. I just wanted to add that little nugget in there.
Yeah, there's consequences for going against our natural natural pathways, and like you're saying, just to add on to what you're saying too, it's like we're genetically predisposed to be night owls or morning people. All these other things go in effect too, and when we fight those natural cycles of, let's say, technically by genetics, I'm a night owl. But you guys know I'm here at 5:30 every morning because that's just how my epigenetics or my environment was. My dad got up and went 5:30 every morning.
Yeah.
So that changed my natural circadian rhythm, and I think that's why I feel tired all the time. I'm fighting my own genetics. So our choices to whether we want to live off soda, not want to sleep or want to, there's consequences to that.
Yeah.
Right. So there's consequences to fighting our natural cycle.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely. I noticed that right away with water too. Like I can
Yes.
live off. This is a simple example. We can live off very little water. The things that it does to our body is, I mean, it goes down. But as soon as the cells get dehydrated, the muscles get dehydrated. So people always say, like, how much water do I have to drink? I'm like, you should be, if you're lifting weights specifically, you should be drinking water all day, every day, until the day you die. Our bodies function well when they're most hydrated. Our brains function well. Our digestive tract functions well when we're hydrated. Everything suffers when we're not hydrated. So that's just an example of like how our bodies can evolve. So just because you may, I've never eaten breakfast. Right? How many people do you know don't eat breakfast?
Lots.
And they're like, oh, it's always worked for me. And it's like, well, your body can evolve to not eat breakfast, but it doesn't mean it's the best thing for your body to be optimal. So and that's the big thing I always think about when we're talking about this stuff. It's let's figure out who we are as people and what's natural for us. Let's get as close to nature as we can. Back to your topic of what's the topic, Trip? Grounding. Back to the topic of, so that's one thing, circadian rhythm, grounding.
Yeah, and another thing for your sleep, it could be a byproduct of chronic inflammation can be poor sleep. But earthing, grounding can also address that inflammation on some level, and so you can kind of get 2 for 1 and reduce like your brain fog, your fatigue, your irritability, your poor sleep, your memory. And so it's a very multifaceted, beneficial practice. And it's so easy. It's so like, it's a little harder in the winter. I get it.
Literally, the ground is so
easy.
hard.
Yeah.
You could do snow angels.
Yeah, snow angels. And another thing that I think is pretty recent, and I don't know how I feel about it, but they've come out with these earthing mats or earthing sheets. So how it works, from what I understand, is that the sheet or the mat has a wire that goes into the grounded part of the outlet of the house. And so it's connected to the earth and your body gets the benefits, but you're inside, which is so funny.
Can I hate something?
Yeah.
I was like, isn't this the opposite point of grounding?
It
Yeah.
doesn't mean I'm right. I just want to hear it out.
Yeah. I know.
I could very easily be wrong, but
Yeah. The research says that there are some benefits.
nice.
I think it could be good if you're like live in Alaska and that's your only option. But obviously, ideally, go outside and be in nature and feel the earth and see the earth and be in the fresh air.
Well, the whole precipice behind this, right, is that Earth has its own magnetic frequency, right, that goes through the Earth and whatnot. And again, I'm just kind of asking this in general here is, does the frequency of the Earth match our natural frequency of our bodies? Right, because sound and vibration has something to do with this, and I'm kind of curious what that fulcrum or that connection point is between all this.
Yeah, it was called just for the listeners who like to Google stuff, it was called the Schumann resonance by physicist Winifred Otto Schumann, and this was in the 1950s. And he referred to the naturally occurring electromagnetic resonance that the Earth's atmosphere has, which is 7.83 hertz.
Interesting, because like those electrical magnetic currencies on Earth are what kind of protects us from like solar radiation, not just the atmosphere, not just our atmosphere or whatnot. So, I mean, there's got to be something to this. There's got to be a natural occurring thing that we're literally stepping out of nature so bad that we're missing just something as easy as just touching the Earth.
Yeah.
I mean, we have rubber on our shoes. We can't get anything through that.
Yeah, for sure, definitely. Yeah, we definitely have to be exposed to like I was just say germs. I don't know if that's right. We definitely have to be exposed to germs and not bubble wrap ourselves. Everybody's always worried about getting sick, but it's like, oh man, Dr. Duperret was talking about terrain theory. So if you guys aren't aware of terrain theory versus germ theory, this goes back to 1860 with Louis Pasteur and germ theory, and then terrain theory was what was his name? Who came up with it. His name was.
Guessing he's European.
Sounds about right here. I'll find it out in a second. But essentially, it was about that, like, viruses and illness and disease grow on the types of terrain that allow them to be there. So, like, sickness or illness is a particular type of frequency, right? So, we as humans, we're talking about people like, oh man, I love that person's energy. That person has really good energy. We feel people's energy and their intentions, and people who have negative energy or really low energy, and typically disease and sickness grows in low energy situations, right? So grounding is a way to increase our energy and get back to, who we are. We're part of nature.
Well, you just gave me an idea. You think about it like a stagnant pond, right? A stagnant pond grows, mosquito, larva, algae, disease. You're 100% right. And that's a great example in nature where that happens is stagnation is death. Right, and that goes back to our genetic talks about if you're not growing and moving, you're dying, because stagnation in nature is death. So you're 100% right. So that does kind of follow along with what nature does. Like, a beaver clogs a dam, things kind of blow up, the entire ecosystem kind of like gets destroyed.
Yeah, no, that's a super good point. Segue into your book you were telling me about. You were talking. So what Tripp was just saying, like, you were talking about the food. The food we're putting in our body is medicine and nutrients, and I referenced Dr. Danielle Duperret a lot because she was just on the podcast, but she was an expert in food and talking about how food has particular energy and in fact color.
Yeah.
Right, and so you were talking, how they're going to some of that.
Yeah, I've been reading this book called Formerly Known as Food. And so far, she's highlighted many different areas where our food supply now is just so depleted in the vitamins and nutrients that it used to have just 80 years ago. Not that long ago.
I'd say even 30, to be honest.
Yeah. And she goes into all the effects that has on your endocrine system and your gut biome, etc. And even just as far as baby formula, it's been really detrimental in some ways.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, sorry.
No, go ahead. I was just gonna say, yeah, interesting. What else? Anything else? What else?
Her big thing in the book is a focus on the whole egg theory. So her theory with the whole egg is that people have often demonized one part or the other of the egg, and they'll take it out and they'll do egg whites, or they'll just do the egg yolks. Totally. And she's like, we are meant to eat the whole foods.
Thank you, somebody said
and,
it.
Yeah.
Jeez.
And even though they're saturated fats, it's okay because it's a natural whole food. Yeah. And our body knows how to deal with it. And you don't need to restrict like half of the food that comes naturally in it.
Well, that's the thing. Like, as scientific as I am, I really do believe in like that caveman type of diet. What we used to eat is probably the best for us.
Yeah.
Right. So if we're eating, a potato and the root with it, just cooking it together, like, you should probably have it in it. A lot of us weren't able to clean food very well back in the day. So we grabbed a potato out of the ground and we're going to eat it. That dirt was still on the potato to some point, and there's vitamins and minerals in dirt.
Yeah.
Same thing with our water supply. Now we have clean water that's bleached and got everything else in it. But when we took it from a stream, there was vitamins and minerals in that water that we naturally drank from these places, like with good energy, right? So getting back to that grounding thing, is there is something to all of this that fits somewhere, right? There's this one problem that we're having. All these vitamin and mineral deficiencies, cancer, cardiovascular disease, strokes. There's a reason they're so rampant right now, is because we're not having the right foods and medicine, or food as medicine in this example, for our bodies to function properly. Now, going back to the beginning, it's about survivability versus optimalism, right? So right now our society is just kind of surviving, right? We're not learning how to be optimal because we don't have these good foods. We're not grounding. We're not getting outside. We're not keeping ourselves healthy. We're not working out. We're not sleeping. So I think it all boils down to the same kind of thing, right? It's the same kind of issue.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, there's one more example I wanted to tag on to what you just said too, and then we'll kick it again back to you, Bethany. Yeah, I've seen people over the course of a while now, training them And I've seen people that are chronically sick, and I'm sure people on the podcast will know a friend, family member, maybe themselves, whoever, who has been chronically sick, meaning they get sick, they get better, they get sick again, right? And so they have this path. That's a pretty telltale sign of, hey, something's going on. You know, a good way you can take a look at your vibration right away. And one easy thing that is so prevalent is chronic stress. Mm-hmm. So stress is like an expectation of, hey, I'm in trouble. And we've talked about this with the cortisol. I need to have this done, which used to be a good thing for our bodies because, hey, we're in danger. Now the types of stress that we've moved on to in our society is stress like, hey, this deadline. Well, that deadline's not going to kill you. You know, if this happens, that's not going to kill you, right? So we're in a very safe world right now. But people still live with this chronic stress. I hope they get a chance to realize how detrimental stress is to your entire body, all its systems. And some people live chronically stressed or high stress. Some people function better on it and are more genetically predisposed to function well in high stress environments. And then most of us are not supposed to live in that high stress environment. So when we're in that chronic stress, our adrenal glands are going crazy, our cortisol is going crazy, our fight or flight is going crazy, our digestive tract is constricted, we're not digesting the minerals that are coming into our body. There's a whole ton of things that happen when we're in a chronic stress environment. So taking it back to grounding, and finding a way we can take our vibration from, oh my God, you know, that breathing and just like slow ourselves down with nature. Because if you go out in nature, there's a little bit of a rant, but I feel like it's worth being said. If you go out in nature and you hear like the wind come in and kind of go out and you hear the stream coming, there's just like this like symphony. It's like this very slow.
Good way to say that.
It's this very slow, like kind of developing, like encompassing, complex. You know, you hear all this, and that's the vibration like we're trying to go for. You know, if you picture this hustle and bustle of the inner cities, it's like this cacophony. It's like this cars honking, people yelling, phones ringing. You hear all this like, and so grounding. You know, it's like, whoa. So what else can people do? Give us some more.
Yeah, I mean, very practical. Just go, and if you have a garden, go out barefoot when you work on your garden. Go eat lunch outside with your bare feet. You could like sit on a towel if you want, but have your feet touching the earth, or just go out to your park that's closest to your house, take a nap, have a picnic. Very practical, easy stuff to do. And your cortisol is going to come down, your inflammation, even your white blood cell count comes down. Your perception of pain decreases. That's really big, especially for people new into working out, even experienced athletes. Your soreness can be decreased by this. So I think it's a really good, simple practice to add into any life, even just once a week and build up to a couple times a week. Yeah.
Love it.
Well, you know, that kind of made me think of, like, you know, walk on your bare feet. I don't see a lot of kids walking outside in their bare feet playing outside that much anymore.
Yeah.
You know, like when we were growing up and stuff like that, we weren't allowed back in the house. Like, you know, you're outside to stay until those streetlights come on and then you can come home. You know, we wanted to do that though, right?
Yeah.
You know, but remember how happy you came home, like after playing outside. You're like in the creek or you're outside playing, and like you just come back in such a good mood. We outside or no shoes on. We were playing in the dirt and stuff like that. And you come back like happy and relaxed, and you have this nice long sleep. And a lot of us, you know, after we're kids, we don't have that kind of shit anymore.
Totally.
Yeah, that's a different sleep after that kind of day. Oh, it's so good.
You can have that. I hate to keep going on tangents here.
Go for it.
I feel like they're good tangents.
Yeah.
There's a type of sleep. So the one thing with grounding I wanted to bring up and see if maybe it stimulates an idea within you guys or you've experienced it. But I always thought of the phrase as you're not tired. People are always tired, right? Always tired. Walk around the street, go to the store, go to a grocery store, look at 100 faces in the grocery store and see the energy they give you, okay? If that doesn't tell you who's tired and who's not, that's right away, right? But I always love this phrase. People are not tired, they're uninspired. So, you know, what that means is like our bodies are capable of a lot of creativity, a lot of energy. But, you know, I feel like a lot of people are missing the passion in their life these days, missing like a mission or a project or something they're doing. the type of sleep that you get when you come home and you're exhausted, physically exhausted, emotionally, mentally, because you've given it all away, that type of sleep is the restorative sleep, the regenerating. That's that deep sleep where you only really need 5 hours and you're like ready to get at it again. The worst thing, and I've had this in my life too, the worst thing is like when I don't have projects I'm passionate about or working on, or I'm not on a mission and I'm bored, right? That sleep is where you're on your phone. You're sitting, you're like, oh, is it time for bed? You're looking, you're scrolling through TikTok, which is the most corrosive thing for your brain. You could pull out any study you want. It's the most corrosive. Social media is designed to corrode your brain, like 100%, to make you compare yourself to other people. It's short term. Okay, there's not really good information on it. It's just topical. Oh, here you go. Here's the next thing. That's all it is about. They call it an ephemeral experience. They actually invented a word for it. Ephemeral experience. And people would be like, what does that mean? Well, that's an experience that's not real and that disappears after you have it.
Yeah, because it's unnatural.
Wow.
And that's what they're using.
Wow.
This goes back to the 50s when they first invented television and they called it programming. So they used to call it programming. Well, there's a reason they called it programming, because you are literally programming your mind. I mean, look at somebody's face who's watching TV. Look at like what their expression is doing. Like we could have a conversation right now and you could be making faces at me while I'm talking and I can get an idea if you understand me. But if you look at somebody who's engrossed in a TV show, or even worse, social media, they should do a facial recognition study on people who are involved in social media while they're doing it. Your face loses all sense of like expressionism. It's completely
Like reaction. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the same face as a drug user.
100%.
Right?
Exactly.
'Cause
It's distant.
Totally. Because it's about the dopamine hit.
Yeah.
Right? There's a reason that I kind of this does get to grounding too, is because we live so far out of reality right now that we're in la la land. Is you see these people that are going out of their way to get these likes, views, comments, engagements, and they're not happy, right? They're chasing the next high. Social media is literally chasing the dragon. Right, because you're always looking for, I got a new record. I got 200 people that liked my post, and I feel really good about myself. The world must love me. When it's really the opposite, because they're talking. You're talking about liking and engaging into a fake environment that has no reality check on what we're experiencing.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, like I can't tell you how many times Brett and you and I have talked about these people that are on social media that like are giving terrible fitness advice, that obviously have gone through plastic surgery or done these other things to make themselves look good, and then trying to give health advice to people expecting the same results. And that's why we're having these hell loop issues of people. I don't know how to get healthy. I listened to this one person, this one workout, I did this, and the next thing you know, that they're in the same spot they were 3 months ago.
Yeah, not only are these photos and videos being edited and using filters now, so they're really not even close to what the real people are, but now they've bought bots and followers.
Yes.
So now all the comments on the photos and videos are all fake comments, fake. So it is the most toxic thing ever. I can't stand it.
Insanity.
It's pure insanity. So that's why grounding is important, is to bring you back into reality, bring you back into the rhythm of, the wind, the stream, the mountains, the clouds, just nature in general and how things are supposed to move.
Yeah, and one of the things I was reading was saying that these man-made electromagnetic frequencies, like the cell phone, the Wi-Fi, the fridge, the smart meter, they affect your tissue repair processes, and they disturb your immune function through stimulation of allergic and inflammatory responses. So you're just passively getting a detrimental effect, and you're just sitting there.
Well, I think a lot of us just thought about everyone has Wi-Fi in their houses and have cell phones constantly packed to their waist or whatnot. Is there's going to be some repercussions for this. Always is. I mean, look at what happened with lead paint back in the 40s and 50s. Lead pipes, right? Now we're like, oh shit, that is not good for you at all. Lead is not good for you. It's it has a ton of issues down the road, and now we're learning. But the thing is, we are always 4 or 5 steps behind the effect of what's happening to us, with technology.
Yeah.
Always. And it's the same thing we were talking about with foods. It seems like every other year there's something to demonize in food.
Yep.
First it was fats, now it's carbohydrates, and now it's fats
Yep.
again. It's like, well, maybe it's just a balance of everything. Love a fuck.
Imagine a balance.
That's so funny. People that's like the white rice, brown rice. Every other day, somebody's like, "It turns out this study says that brown rice actually is bad for you." It's like people wanting to reinvent things that we already know.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Because they want the social media attention.
That's crazy. Like Dr. Huberman, you guys found? Like that type of social media presence is just, I don't even need to say anything. It just, I look at it and I'm like, oh my God, stop.
But they know they'll get someone who hasn't heard the last 10 years of back and forth, and they'll be like, oh, that makes sense.
I knew I was always right.
I knew it.
I said this 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So out there, thanks for joining us on this conversation. It's been fantastic. I think we could go into a lot of subsectors of this. EMFs would be a really good one.
Yeah.
For sure. I'd actually like to do an episode on that.
Are we talking about ghosts with that?
No.
EMFs, how you catch ghosts.
We might be.
Ghostbusters.
Let's get that Zach Baggins in here.
Oh, no.
Who's that?
The guy from Ghost Adventures.
Oh, gosh.
Dude, they've been on the air for 9 seasons and never caught a ghost.
Killing it.
We definitely gotta have to talk about that one day. But hey, guys, thank you to our listeners. Thank you to our subscribers. Thank you to all of you guys that have rated our podcast. We're actually getting up there in ratings, so if you guys can go give us some 5 stars, we'd really appreciate it. Every little bit helps. We're trying to grow this thing into a video podcast here the next few months. So every little bit of you guys telling other friends about this, if you even get one little thing out of every episode, we really appreciate if you guys can share the word for us. We have a lot of amazing things coming up. Make sure you guys are watching out this next year. We got quite a few things in the barrel, so stay tuned. Bethany, thanks for coming on. Brett, you're just the best.
Thank you. I don't know what that was.
Got to make it weird. All right, guys, peace.
All right, see ya.